I'm your host, Stephen Vanover, here on the Sportstalkline Network, where we talk sports 24/7, 365. This is the Roundtable, and we got a hell of a lineup tonight. We have with us, back from a long hiatus, much too long, I might add, from New York, epicenter of the COVID-19 virus, here in the United States, we have Tom McAlister.
Thanks for having me back. In case you're wondering, actually, New York is the COVID-19 champion right now, knock on wood, because they're totally dominating that curve. They just bam, 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 so hopefully it stays away for a long, long time.
All right, and also with us, we have here the man of zero remorse, no remorse, not a remorse, not any remorse. I'm talking about Nate Dowdy. Thank you, sir.
Man, I also like to talk sports, and I am a man who appreciates a good curve.
And wow, should we jump on that?
That's what she said.
Yeah.
Instead, we're going to jump on the first subject because it is a hot one. We got three great subjects today. I'm diving mine in first, and it's Cam Newton, his contract being a league minimum prove-it contract, which basically a few athletes, specifically we're talking about one in general, Mr. Richard Sherman, has huge issues about. He says it's disrespectful because this guy was a league MVP a very short time ago, and now you're offering him league minimum, and he has umbrage with that. There are different takes on that, but then there's also the genius of the signing. Is this another genius Belichick move? Is he just waiting a little bit for things to mellow out, that he's going to open up and take advantage of this guy's abilities like no other coach has been able to yet? Or is it something else? Tom, you've been gone away way too long. You are on the hot seat, my man. Cam Newton, Patriots, give it.
It's a brilliant move. I think when you see Cam Newton at his best, he's an NFL MVP, led the Carolina Panthers to the Super Bowl. You got to wonder what he would do also under Bill Belichick, who's the master genius who gets the best out of all his players. I also am looking into this. I think the storyline here, this is the NFL version of Shaq versus Kobe. Who is more responsible for this dynasty? Is it Bill Belichick or is it Tom Brady? If Bill Belichick is able to win a Super Bowl with Cam Newton, with the limited offensive weapons that he has in New England as of right now on paper, Bill Belichick would look like the reason why the Patriots had the dynasty. And also financially, with the low-risk deal, first you got to wonder, how come no other team was offering big money to Cam Newton? That's the first question you need to ask. The second question is New England. I think it's a brilliant move as much as we hate New England. But I think taking Tom Brady away from New England, you don't have as much hatred for New England, but you're still a little you're still not hugging Bill Belichick. He's probably not a hugger anyway. But I think, too, when you look at the terms of the deal, it's something – if Cam Newton plays like he did in an MVP season, he will get paid, and also he'll get that second big contract. Nate, how do you feel about this deal with Cam Newton going to the Patriots?
Well, it's interesting. First and foremost, I couldn't believe he signed for such a low contract. I think I know people at Chick-fil-A that make more money than Cam Newton will next season. This says to me, because I think if this was really, really about the money, Cam Newton could have held out for a little bit longer, could have waited as far out until training camp and until someone goes down or they needed someone, an extra arm. If that was about it, Cam Newton wants to win. That's what it says about me. He knows the Patriots are in cap trouble, at least for this year. Took the deal. Hats off to him. I'm curious about the way Josh McDaniels is going to be able to use him in the offense. Because if you look at the type of quarterback they've had in Tom Brady for years, it's been a pocket quarterback who hasn't been able to create any offense through his legs. So now it brings you a completely different talent in Cam Newton. And the Patriots are smart enough to know that they're going to build around a guy's talent. They're not going to ask him to do what they do. They're going to build around his talent. So I expect to see the Patriots offense look completely different next year. Yes, Van? Can't hear you.
Thank you. I had the old mute on there.
Yeah.
That's because my cat recently had his balls cut off, and he's not happy about it. So he's wanting to talk about it. So I'm trying to be circumspect here. However, you both brought up some really cool points, and I want to send it back around the room after I bring up some observations on those points. Josh McDaniels, for you. Let's just sit right here with that, actually, and send this around the room. Josh McDaniels, I only got 2 words for you, sending it right back to Tom to comment on this. Tim Tebow. If Josh McDaniels can make Tim Tebow look good and win a freaking playoff game, I think he can handle this guy. What do you think?
I definitely think you do bring up a good point where Josh McDaniel might not have had the best record as a head coach, but he seems like a pretty good coordinator. And if you send him over there, you got to be someone where it's like, you know what? This is a buy low, sell high proposition with Cam Newton. And, he does bring up, I think Nate brought it up, where he does bring up a different skill set. Like he can actually move, unlike Tom Brady, in particular 2 Super Bowls against a team wearing blue and white. I forget who won that game. But I think those are certain – it's a different weapon. And I believe Cam Newton has the most missed tackles out of any quarterback in the NFL history. And you got to think this is a multiple threat. You just got to wonder if, one name that pops up is McNeil, the rookie wide receiver for New England who really didn't play that much last year. You got to wonder, could he step up and be that legit threat? They used a lot of tight ends at New England. You got to wonder if that will come.
Well, he was a first-round pick, right? The wide receiver,
yes.
and he just didn't quite get it.
No,
the first
he was hurt, but this is also Bill Belichick, where he's earned the benefit of the doubt. If he called me up to be a QB, who knows what he could do? But that's kind of it. But Nate, how do you feel? How do you think McDaniel will do with Cam Newton?
I think really what's going to make the difference in their offense is going to be the way they're going to be able to attack defenses, because right now they don't have a traditional vertical threat. They have a lot of guys who can hurt you underneath, particularly in the passing game with running backs. They just drafted 2 tight ends this last draft, so I expect both of those guys to be at least semi-contributors in the offense right away. But I think what really, really, really needs to happen is them to get a vertical threat. I know people are talking about, what's the guy's name from the pothead who –
Josh Gordon?
Josh Gordon, thank you. I think the thing is he fell out of sorts in New England before, so I don't think that would be necessary.
My dealer has him on speed dial. I'm sorry. I knew you were talking about that.
Yeah. But anyway, Josh McDaniels, I think that's really going to be the difference to what this offense is really going to be able to contribute next year. Is they need a deep threat.
Yeah, but McDaniel, all right, guys, the guy has shown he can handle a physical quarterback. He can handle a quarterback that's not all that accurate, which is Cam Newton, okay? And Cam Newton, though, is – and I wanted to bring up this name because this is huge, and that is – Cam Newton is the current Bob of NFL QBs. And what is that? Bone on bone. He's got bone on bone in his throwing arm. So after he hid some surgeries, this was a huge thing, and the NFL just slid by. There was some other stuff going on. He got away with it. He had surgeries, didn't tell the team even. Okay? And I've been able to verify this. All right, through people that I know in the Charlotte area. All right, I used to live there. This guy has bone on bone, reportedly. All right, or definitely has something, and he definitely has issues with the arm. And all of a sudden, instead of being a down the field guy, he went to dink and dunk. But his completion percentage, highest he's ever done. So his yards per throw went down. But Tom, what does that mean overall?
I think, it was kind of the playing style they had with Tom Brady, first off. But second off, when you look at the AFC East, Cam Newton is already the most established quarterback who has a track record of any success. A lot of people were saying with, Josh Allen, I'm not quite sold on him. Sam Darnold, who knows with the Jets. Cam Newton comes in. He's the biggest proven winner in that division. And the Patriots have been able to have so much success because they can dominate this division. So, Nate, do you think even with Cam Newton, does this now turn New England back to the team to beat in the AFC East?
I thought even before the Cam Newton signing, I said it wouldn't surprise me if Jarrett Stidham was the best quarterback in the AFC East last year.
Yes. And I see so many people are not talking about that. It's not – Cam Newton is not starting, is he, Nate?
Yeah, it might not, but, I mean, they're going to give him a chance to compete, and with that, they're going to give him the chance to compete, but if completely healthy, bringing up your point about the injury, if completely healthy, there is no competition. Tom?
I think, too, when you look at it from Cam Newton's perspective, if he signed a long-term deal this year, it would be at a significant discount. Because he's coming off one of the worst seasons he's ever had. And if you're looking at yourself as a professional player, be like, listen, I feel like Jameis Winston kind of did the same thing. He went to New Orleans where he's like, let me play with Sean Payton, offensive guru, let me learn, let me get better. That's kind of what Cam Newton's doing. He's like, listen, I need this big-time deal. I need to have a great season. If he has one great season, okay, he can turn that into money with New England or somewhere else. But, of course, usually once you leave New England, the evil powers, it's almost like the stars from Space Jam, that you have to give your powers back and all of a sudden you can't do anything. Van, you have a question. What do you got?
Well, yeah, exactly. I just jumping on the point that you're making there, and that, he doesn't have to have a great season. All he's got to show is he can stay healthy, be a good backup, and if he gets a few shots in the game, especially in preseason, if he can show that he can move the ball and everything, he's done his job. He doesn't have to play in the regular season. All he's got to do is look good in the preseason. That's why he took the prove-it contract, because from my source, he didn't have any other offers. I mean, none. Because nobody believed in that arm. Nobody. Yeah. And so, but, hey, they're bringing him in. And if anybody can handle this type of thing, changing from this QB to that QB, it's Bill Belichick, who can change his offense from week to week. He really doesn't care. So, but I go back to what No Remorse Sports was saying right there. Stidham is the QB. He's going to have to suck in order for this guy to step in my opinion. What do you guys think?
I don't think it's that simple. I think that's I actually think it's going to be an open competition. I think New England's one of the rare teams to where the front office isn't really going to dictate who the starting quarterback is. And when you look at Cam Newton, what he wants to replicate, it's got to be Ryan Tannehill. You saw what Ryan Tannehill came in there with. Marcus Mariota had 1 year left on his deal, on his rookie deal.
Tannehill always sucked. I mean, this guy used to be an MVP, but I get what you're saying.
But yeah, I mean, he went in and said, okay, he was outplaying Marcus Mariota. All the reports were saying during the preseason,
yes, he was.
But the organization themselves said, we need to find out about Mariota, let him play. So, but then it sorted themselves out because Mariota ended up getting benched. Ryan Tannehill came in, got him to the playoffs, went to the championship game. The rest is history. But I think Cam Newton's going to get an opportunity to start. Tom?
Nate, I think you bring up a good point. A lot of times, especially when you're a quarterback, it depends who selected you. If the general managers who picked you or signed you are still in charge and they want you to be the number one QB, they will give you opportunity after opportunity after opportunity. With Cam Newton, the GMs that picked him in Carolina were fired. They went to another franchise. I don't know which one. But this is an example. New England is one of the only franchises where Bill Belichick can go in and tell ownership, they can tell the GM, whoever that is, this is who we're playing. And if you're a GM and you're a smart GM, you'll listen to Bill Belichick.
All right, that makes a point. All right, we're going to move on to a new subject here, and I am going to fill in everybody watching. As you notice, my brain is on battery power here. So I don't know how much I can last. So as we talked about in the green room, Nate will take over hosting duties as I become the disembodied voice if that happens. But we're going to move on to the next topic here. And after me, we're going to go right to New York City and talk about the topic because, hey, New York City, we're talking about COVID-19, right?
Yes. The plan was up a few months ago where baseball finally had an agreement, NBA has an agreement. All right, this is what we're going to do. We're going to return to play. Now, some issues start coming up. There are two issues. One, players contracting COVID-19. Ezekiel Elliott is one that stands out.
Seven Cowboys that we know of.
Yes, that we know of, that they're telling us that have it. Also, players are opting out. Half of the New Jersey Nets either have COVID-19 or the Brooklyn Nets. Half of the New Jersey Nets either are opting out or have COVID-19. So these are certain situations where, my question is, do you see players from championship contending teams opting out of their season to prevent COVID-19? Man, what do you think?
Lakers already have one guy. What is it, Butler or something like that opted out? He said, no way.
Yes.
He's in the NBA, I think it's different than the other sports because there's a contingent of NBA players led by, what's his name, Leonard, that is trying to challenge the player leadership. And they felt slighted because they were not, this one guy was not invited to a league discussion about COVID-19 response. And he thought he was, Kawhi Leonard is who I'm talking about. And so he decided that, well, I am the man. And so he got a bunch of players to say, hey, whatever you guys decide, we're going to disagree with it. So, so one of those guys is on the Lakers. And, this is LeBron's chasing those rings, man. Okay. LeBron's chasing those rings. So this is a huge thing right there. And I can't remember the name of the player. My bad on that. While you guys talk about it, I'll Google it.
Okay. Is it Kyrie Irving?
It was Kyrie Irving, I think.
Okay, I could have said Kyrie Irving, but that would have been too easy. Okay.
Yeah, but I think Kyrie Irving also thinks the Earth is flat.
Yeah.
This is true. He does.
So you got to wonder what classes he took at Duke University.
Actually, he didn't take any classes, and I think that is coming out, okay, because Duke is Cheaterville, okay?
Man,
Duke
how
used
dare
to be
you?
known as a class organization. They are not. They are rotten to the freaking core.
How dare you throw mountains and rocks at
Duke Krzyzewski, right?
Exactly.
How dare you? You're trying to tell me Zion Williamson, he got offered that money, but he turned it down to play for Coach K for one day because Duke is the epitome of everything that is right. And if I say anything different, the people from Mickey Mouse will come after me.
Oh, well, obviously you understand the situation. And by the way, I hope you guys caught that little play I did on names. Duke Krzyzewski. Okay, come on.
What?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that Duke is so freaking dirty. Other schools, get all this rap, and Duke is dirty to hear. I am ashamed of Duke. My son was born in Asheville, North Carolina. Go ahead.
I'm just going to say this. I think Jerry Tarkanian said it best. The NCAA is so upset at Kentucky.
Take a towel.
Yes, take a towel. NCAA is so upset at Kentucky, they're going to suspend Cleveland State. If you look at the NCAA, I'll just say this. You have FBI investigators going after colleges. You have people that are facing jail time, and the NCAA hasn't said anything. But God forbid, if you're at East Central Louisiana State giving an extra bottle of water to Bobby Boucher,
you're going down.
It's like, come on. It's so hypocritical, with the NCAA.
Oh, absolutely. And by the way, Boucher did the right thing by not going to the NFL. I'm just saying.
Yeah. I think his wife, Vicky Valancourt, was the driving force in that decision.
She's obviously the brains. I'm just saying.
Yes.
Okay.
No. Cost him $4 million.
Hey, you can't say anything. You're giving a head to a stormtrooper right now.
Yeah, but getting back to COVID-19, let me ask Nate this question. I feel like a lot of players who are not on championship teams are going to opt out. Do you see that happening with this COVID pandemic, where if you're on like a so-so team with no championship aspirations, you're going to sit out the year?
Yeah, I could see that definitely. But here's me, the skeptic in me. The skeptic in me thinks it's going to be more for grandstanding reasons, to be a part of a more of a trend than anything other than really health concerns. So that's the skeptic in me. Van?
Well, yeah, only the players that can afford to grandstand are going to do it. If you need to make bank, you're going to show up for work, dude, okay? And how do I know this, okay? If you don't have a wife that's telling you to go to work, you've got 3 baby mamas that are telling you to go to work because they want to get their freaking check. And if you don't go to work, there's no penalty if you consider not getting paid a penalty, okay?
I think this also goes, too, with the basketball players. One, they got most of their money for the season, so they can stay home. Two,
depending who.
Yeah,
right.
Most of them did. If you're a max guy, yeah, you can stay home.
Oh, yeah.
If you got free agency coming up, you know what? I'm not going to risk COVID-19 for 10 games in a bubble. That would be an interesting 30 for 30, I'll tell you that much, or an interesting documentary. But I also think, too, baseball is a different story because, one, they had very contentious contract negotiations with this whole situation. Two, you're already taking a drastic pay cut. So you're
Carl
kind
Crawford.
of, you know,
Okay,
so
now, here's a guy, all right, taking a pay cut, this, that, this, and that. If he says, yeah, I'm going to go to the bubble, then he's agreeing to miss the birth of his child, his first child. And as is explained to me, you do not miss the birth of your first child. Second one, okay, you can mail that one in, all right? Third one, email, okay?
What about the illegitimate
first one, you better freaking be there.
What about the illegitimate ones, though? That's something.
Those don't count.
Those don't count.
No.
Those don't count until Rory comes in.
In America, you're there for the birth of your first child, and you can do anything you want and get away with it. But after that, second child, third child, illegitimate child, oh, come on, man. You're getting paid. But that is the thing right there. And there's also a few players in basketball and baseball that have underlying conditions with their immunity system. All right. And no, that's not all age. Just shut the front door, people. Okay. It's just there are people that have underlying conditions with their immunity system. And there's lots of reasons for it. All right. Then there's other people who say, you know what? I hear you, but I live with my Nana. She's 90 years old. I'm not putting her at risk. I don't know. I think all nanas are like 85 to 90 or something like that. So that's harsh. How many are going to opt out? It depends on how many can afford it. Don't you think, Tom?
I think, too, we're talking about players. We also got to talk about coaches. Off the top of my head, I think Mike D'Antoni and Alvin Gentry are over the age limit where they're at higher risk of getting COVID. So that's kind of something to take into consideration. Aaron Boone had open heart surgery, manager of the Yankees, so he's at higher risk. So you got to look at this.
What about some of these assistant coaches who were like older guys? Like, we've actually lost some all-time great assistant coaches here recently. Joe Bugle died. Have a moment of silence. Thank you. Joe Bugle, if you don't follow, he was the guy that did the Hogs. Okay, with the Redskins. He's an awesome offensive line coach. How many offensive line coaches in the NFL are like 900 years old? A bunch of them, right? So, I mean, that you bring up a great issue there, man, a great issue. All right, enough of that. Moving on down, we now have the last subject of the day, and we're talking about the man with no remorse. And you got a question here that you want to ask about cornermen and fights. And when I say cornermen, come on, that's a little joke, right?
Yeah. I got to watch out for you. I got to watch out for you. No. Anyway, Platinum Mike Perry came out to his fight this last weekend, hardly sparring during training and not really doing a lot of didn't have a particular trainer necessarily this entire fight, then went ahead and brought no one other than his girlfriend in his corner. Took a lot of shit, including from me. I thought he was going to be dangerous because you saw a lot of fights recently that where cornermen refused to put a stop to a fight and did damage to their fighters. I thought it was dangerous. He proved me wrong. In your eyes, does that mean cornermen are overrated in fights?
I think so, yes. Very, very few times do you connect the fighter with the trainer. I think one, Customato, who was able to find the phenom that they've been trying to replicate for 30 years in Mike Tyson. That's one person where it's kind of documented once Mike Tyson got rid of his original trainers and all his connections with Customato, that's when problems really started happening for him. I think he lost to Buster Douglas. It is an interesting prospect, too. I mean, whenever you think of cornermen, it's like when to throw in the towel, when not to throw in the towel. And also you have the extra element of concussions. There are a lot of people now, there's a lot more studies in it. UFC has protocols where basically, if you get knocked out, you need to sit out X amount of time to make sure you're okay. So there are certain steps that are made, but I really think at the fight, maybe not so much. You need the coach in training. You need the coach to push you at the actual fight. Depending on how long, unless they're dropping some knowledge, they're not as important, I think, at the fight. I think they're more important during training than they are at the fight. Van, how do you think?
Oh, dude, I'm so glad you came here. There's so many good takes on this. All of the great coaches know this. Some of the not great coaches know this. Great athletes make great coaches. So when you are in the corner and you have somebody that's going to win the fight, yeah, you look good. Okay? He was better than the other guy. He didn't screw it up. She looked good. All right? But your Gus D'Amato is perfect. See, that's the difference. Great coaches are really known for their worst years. Tom Landry. Hey, we had to work the Cowboys in here, right, Nate? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Tom Landry's best coaching years are when he somehow got his team to 10 wins and in the playoffs, and they sucked. They sucked. That was a bad team, and he just got it done. And that is the difference between a good manager, a good coach. As you can tell, my brain just went blank.
Yep.
But no, man, it's like she looked good because he looked good, all right? You called it. Great coaches, great managers, great cornermen. You got a guy that worked with Muhammad Ali, that worked with a lot of really good fighters, a lot of really good, not so good fighters that did okay because of him. And, Dundee would be able to explain to you in much more effusive terms about why it's important to have a great cornerman in your corner. And in a fight that you're going to win, it's not necessary. It's only necessary in a fight you don't know if you're going to win. That's my take.
Right. On top of it as well, I mean, the part that really took me aback was that he didn't go into any major camp. He was kind of hoboing it. And the only thing that would have outdone it, I said in my video, if you brought a blow-up doll, you brought a scarecrow, and you brought a mime with meat in the corner. That's the only way you're going to outdo that.
What if he had his boyfriend in his corner instead of his girlfriend?
Yeah, okay, exactly. How about equality, goddammit?
There it is. Yeah, baby.
Yeah. Anyway, most of these fighters fight at major camps, and they have all these great fighters training them. So they're not necessarily the hay is already in the barn, so to speak. You've already done the work in training. Only very few times do you really, really need advice from your corner. And to her credit, she knew she was out of her depth, so she didn't say anything. I think that's the best advice of all. If you're out of your depth, the worst part is when a charlatan's trying to convince you to do something that you shouldn't. Tom?
My question is, how come his girlfriend came? Like, he couldn't get another coach? Like, you got to wonder, like...
She worked for free, dude, okay? That's why. Dude saved money. And that is great. It won. It was a smart move. Are cornermen overrated? Not if you're going to win, but if you have a question about whether you're going to win, you want the best that you can get around you, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. That's what made this was the ultimate Babe Ruth calling your shot and knocking it out of the park. I mean, this was a pro-trained fighter here with probably better prepared for this fight, but then again, proved me wrong. Whatever he did worked.
Okay, but now hold on, Nate. I heard from some pundits, and this is not my personal opinion, that some of the advice she was giving in between rounds was good advice.
Yeah. Yeah, the advice was basically, where do you want me to put the ice pack, baby? That's literally what she said. And he said, oh, back of my head.
So that is solid advice. I agree with that.
I think it's also, too, you got it. One question. One, how familiar is his girlfriend with fighting? You know, she could have fought at any type of level. I'm not sure. That's something you could look into. Female fighters have gained popularity in UFC. There are probably some women there that do know how to handle it. So I think that's something to take into question. You got to wonder this, though, too. Fighters, athletes, they're superstitious. Is this a trend that's going to continue?
Tom, I've had my arm up for like a week. How come you're not passing it off to me?
Black box van.
Van turned into John Cena. We can't see him.
Tom, you bring up an excellent thing there. And, you know, I actually used to be a gymnastics coach back in the day, and I coached females, and I had so much fun going to different schools and stuff, putting on demonstrations, because you would get all of these football coaches and football players who had no idea that females are every bit as capable as a male. Not somewhat capable, not a little bit capable, 100% capable. They can do just as many push-ups, just as many pull-ups. It doesn't matter. All that matters is body weight, angle, what you're training, what you're eating. That's all that matters. And so to have a girl in the corner means nothing. Did she have some knowledge? Did she not screw it up? From everything I saw, she did a solid job. So props to her. But can you have anybody in your corner and win consistently? Sure, as long as you fight tomatoes.
Right, and that was the thing. I think both fighters were pretty evenly matched, and it was a pretty good fight. But I do have to give credit to her. She is a novice. She wrestled a little bit in high school, but still, that's no way, shape, or form is she qualified, and she knew that, to her credit. I can't say that about a lot of people.
So didn't screw it up. That's like Phil Jackson 101. So props to her. I mean, there's nothing wrong about that. And hey, you know, before we sign off here, I want to tell everybody, thank you so much for listening. Be sure and hit that subscribe, man. We need to grow. We need to grow. Hit that notification, because it's harder to grow if we don't tell you, right? Right? All right. And then also be sure and follow the guys listening here at No Remorse Sports. You see the Twitter handle right there at the corner of the screen at defends_com. Defends_com. You get COVID-19 Center, Mr. Tom, Mr. All Knowledgeable here. Missed you so long. Thanks for being here. Thank you, Nate. And for everybody listening, remember, come back and do it like you play. And how do you do it, Nate?
What's intensity?
Well said, sir. Bye now.